This is Mrs. Miller, your teacher at ELA Academy. Welcome to Essay Basics Part 8, Developing an Argumentative Paragraph. If you haven't watched Part 4 yet, you might want to because it lays the foundation for what we're doing today. First, let's review what should go in our paragraph. We want a topic sentence, which is the main idea, concrete details, which are facts, description, or quotations, and commentary, which is your own thoughts and analysis. But remember that the argumentative mode has its own special requirements. Whereas expository mode has an explanatory tone, you'll want to use more passionate language in argument. When possible, tell us what the experts think. Give us facts, evidence, statistics, and reasons, and above all, tell us what the opposing side thinks and why they're wrong. I know this looks like a lot, but just as we did in the other demo videos, we'll focus on the argument components first and take it one step at a time. So let's write about video games. It's a good timely issue that a lot of people disagree about. We'll use a very simple structure for the essay. We'll have an intro and conclusion, of course, and in the body, we'll do the two things that are really important in argumentative writing. We'll address the opposing side's argument, a problem with video games, and refute it, give reasons why video games are good anyway. I've created a simple table to help with brainstorming. Like I did for expository writing, I just created one column for each paragraph and labeled it to remind myself what needs to go in it. And at the top, I have a space to write the main idea, the topic sentence, for each paragraph, so that I have something to focus on. Now let me point out that we're still in the Essay Basics series. Quite often, argumentative writing incorporates research so that the writer can back up his or her claims with evidence from reliable sources. But that's not exactly a basic skill. We'll cover research in another series. For this video, I'm assuming that we're writing without access to outside sources like you would on some of the state standardized tests. Let's start with the problem video games create. I think the problem most people are concerned about is that video games are addictive, so we're going to keep this sentence simple. The main problem with video games is that they are addictive. Okay? Then in the next paragraph, we will refute that claim. That means we either need to say that they aren't addictive, which of course we can't do, or we need to say that they're still good in some way despite their addictive nature. So, despite the problems addiction can create, video games have a lot to teach us. All right, that gives us a main idea to work off of for each paragraph. Now let's start brainstorming. What else can we say about video games being addictive? So we're writing about addiction. And I've read that video games use the reward center of the brain. And if we were including research, I would want to find a source, a reliable source to cite for this. So reward center of the brain, and I'm thinking about role-playing games. That's my main experience, and how they have lots of quests going on and different things going on at the same time so that it's hard to find a stopping place. And there's all these different classes and races and guilds that you can play. And so it can make you feel like you want to play the game through multiple times so that you can experience all the different modes of the game. So let's make notes on that. Multiple simultaneous quests, numerous endings. Okay. So then the addicted gamer doesn't want to spend time on anything else. Homework suffers, school suffers. They don't do other things for free time, including going outside, playing with other kids. All they want to do is play video games. Other drawbacks of being addicted. It seems like addiction seems to go along with eating a lot of junk food like Doritos and Mountain Dew. It's probably stereotypical, but I'm not sure that there's a lot of gamers sitting there eating carrot sticks and celery. So, and of course, they're not getting exercise. They're just sitting there. A lot of people are concerned that gamers will just sort of lock themselves up in a room alone and play video games and not develop social skills. And then their parents are worried. What are these kids going to do when they grow up? Is there any job they're going to be qualified for, especially if they haven't developed social skills? If they have trouble talking with people and dealing with people face to face, are they going to be able to get a job and keep a job? Especially if they are still staying up all night playing video games, are they going to go in on time? So there's the whole job angle. And then, of course, I'm thinking about the stereotypical 30-year-old gamer in mom's basement. I don't know if I want to do that in this paragraph or another paragraph, but I think that might be an interesting way to bring in some descriptive mode to kind of paint that powerful picture. Okay. That looks good. Now we need to talk about why video games are still a good idea. So if I back up and look at the problem paragraph, I'm looking at this objection as a whole. Video games are bad for kids. It's going to cause all these problems. And what that makes me think of is how people said the same thing about radio and television. And I even had a friend send me a list recently. I don't know if this was from a reliable source or not. You know, if I was doing research, I would want to check it out. But, you know, if I was just doing this on a test, this would be fine to use. But somebody sent me a list of reasons that women were sent to insane asylums back in the 1900s. And one of those reasons was reading books. And so I thought it was pretty ironic because sometimes people will say, hey, you know, I wish he'd put down that video game controller and go read a book. Well, once upon a time, people thought that books were harmful and they would give people dangerous ideas or take away from their other important activities. So that's pretty ironic, I think. Okay, so then I need to say some positive things about video games. I'm not going to disagree that video games are addictive, but there are some good things that kids can learn from them. Achieving goals. When you complete a mission or a quest or something like that, or reach a certain score level that you want to reach. Problem solving, and even working with other people. So, you know, some games involve teams where you have to work with somebody. I think about Team Fortress 2, where you have to work with your team to beat the other side. And also, you know, we worry about kids learning how to deal with people. There are all kinds of trolls all over the internet. I know that my son complains all the time about people trash talking and being jerks online. So learning how to deal with difficult people is certainly part of the video game experience if you play online. And then too, with the addiction angle, it's like anything that people can do. I mean, just because somebody might overeat doesn't mean you don't ever let them eat. Not that video games are necessary to live, but you just monitor It's like with eating, you monitor their eating habits and put reasonable limits on it. Like you don't allow snacking between meals or whatever. And the same thing with video games. You can establish limits, maybe have them earn video game privileges with chores, go spend some time outside or with your friends, and then you can have some video game time and so on. So it's all about moderation. Okay, and then I'm also thinking about the other things that we can value about video games. What can we learn from it? If it appeals to kids so much more than the things we want them to do, then why don't we take the things we want them to do and try to make them just as rewarding as games? So, okay, and then also maybe all this gaming will provide some experience for kids, and they might grow up to design educational software that's fun and addictive and makes kids want to learn. So maybe this is actually some valuable experience for some of these kids. Okay, that looks pretty good. Looks like we have a lot of good stuff on both sides here. So before we go on to write one of these paragraphs, we need to color code the notes. Red for concrete details, which are facts and other objective info, and green for commentary, my thoughts, feelings, and explanations. There we go. It looks like we're really heavy on concrete details in the problem paragraph and really heavy on commentary in the refutation paragraph. That's okay, at least we have some of both in each one. Now I'm going to write one of the paragraphs. Let's go with the one about problems with video games. As with the other videos, we don't have time for you to watch me composing it, but I promise that it took a lot of rewriting and looking back at the table to see what I wanted to say. Here it is. Many argue that video games are harmful because they're addictive. They aren't wrong. Video games do target the reward center of the brain. First-person shooter games like Call of Duty award points for clearing areas and completing missions, and players can earn perks, special and more effective weapons, armor, etc., that make their characters more powerful. Players of Team Fortress 2 garner prestige for collecting and wearing strange hats. Role-playing games often involve multiple overlapping quests that make it difficult to find a natural stopping point. These reward systems can, in fact, lead to compulsive gaming. Some gamers will spend untold hours racking up points and levels and collecting unusual objects so that they can lord it over other people in game, including those they call newbies, or those new to that game. Also, the variety of ways to play and finish any given game has spawned a special kind of obsessive gamer called completionists, who make it their goal to play as every kind of character, use every kind of weapon, complete every quest, find every item, and walk over every inch of virtual ground in the game. Consequently, we do find many people who have little to no life outside of their beloved games. Their parents worry that they will eat nothing but junk food, get no exercise, and develop no social skills. Worse, what will they do when they grow up? What kind of job could they possibly qualify for? Play video games for 8 hours straight doesn't appear in many job descriptions. All right, let's have a look at the color-coded version. Like I said earlier, this paragraph consists mostly of concrete details. That's the red. That's because there are a lot of facts to support the idea that video games are addictive. Then the next paragraph is mostly commentary. That's because I won't be contradicting those facts, and I'm not really offering other facts to counter them. Instead, I'll be explaining a different way to look at the facts of video gaming. Now let me point out something about argumentative writing. You generally aren't trying to persuade somebody who already agrees with you. You're trying to change the mind of somebody who disagrees with you. So if you can present their point of view as fairly and accurately as possible, as I've done in this paragraph, you can assure the reader that you have understood their perspective. You just want to make sure that you actually address those concerns when you write about your side. Either explain how it isn't a problem, or how it can be prevented or fixed or turned into something good. If you click on the link in the video description below, you can download this entire essay and see how I defended video games. I used something from this paragraph again later in the essay to sort of tie everything together. See if you can find it. I hope this video has helped you to understand argumentative writing better. If you haven't watched the other demonstration videos, then check out Essay Basics Parts 5 through 7, which walk you through writing narrative, descriptive, and expository body paragraphs. Also keep an eye out for the final videos in this series, which will cover how to write effective introductions and conclusions. Be sure to subscribe to my channel and follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest. And as always, you can find supplementary materials for each and every video at elaacademy.us. This is ELA Academy.